Something I think I've always wanted to ask you. In general, the work of the Colectivo, it's quite overwhelming. It's very powerful. There's a lot happening. What kind of impact are you hoping it will have on the audience to have like so many images, so many details, so many things to think about and react to when they see your films?
Hi, thank you for the stage. ¿Se escucha?
Yeah.
I have people. Sorry. I think it's something about the cult here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The hiccups, you mean?
Sorry. Sorry about that because I have like a fever. I want to speak in Spanish, sorry. And Chica is going to translate. Thank you so much. Tell me if I have to stop.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, like I can.
Yes,
go.
I would like this.
Yeah, thank you. El colectivo Los Ingrávidos empezó a hacer cine por un impacto, por dos impactos, creo. El colonialismo, la llegada de los españoles en México y el neoliberalismo. Dos impactos en nuestro trabajo.
The collective Los Ingrávidos started by two impacts, in their lives. One, colonialism, the arrival of the Spanish in Mexico, which you can still feel by today, and neoliberalism as well. Those two things impacted their work.
Y eso se puede ver en el trabajo. En las dos primeras piezas, Koyosauki es la diosa desmembrada.
And you can see that in the two first pieces, the first short film, say it again?
Koyosauki is... Koyosauki.
Yes, the goddess of dismemberment.
Y...
of the dismembered body, actually. Dismembered body.
Impresiones para una máquina de luz y sonido.
¿Cómo?
Impressions for a light and sound machine. The second one you saw. Y esta pieza tiene un poema, es un documental, un poema documental.
¿Este último?
No, Impresiones para una... El segundo.
Ajá. And the second, it's a documentary, a poem documentary.
María Rivera recogió las protestas que estaban en México.
¿Quién es María Rivera?
La poeta.
La poeta.
Que lee.
And María Rivera is the one who documented and made the poem for this short film.
Y ella lo lee.
And she's the one who's reading it.
Y lo lee en el contexto de... es la primera manifestación en contra de la guerra contra el narcotráfico. Es la primera gran manifestación en México en el que ya no quieren una guerra contra el narcotráfico.
¿Qué año fue eso?
2011.
And it was during the first protest, that it was actually like the first big protest against the war of drugs that suddenly happened in Mexico in, ¿qué año?
2011.
In 2011, which was, ¿qué presidente?
No.
¿Cómo se llama? Well, it was this
Peña Nieto.
Ajá. Okay, López Obrador empezó.
No, Peña Nieto.
Peña Nieto, which was, I think, the president that really became this turmoil of protests in Mexico.
Pero desde antes Calderón declaró la guerra contra...
Sí, es lo que pensé, ajá.
Calderón.
Yes,
Calderón.
It started with Calderón declaring the war on drugs, but the big protest was this, with Peña Nieto in power.
Sí, María Rivera. De alguna manera había una política muy ominosa, ¿se puede decir eso? Very...
Ominous.
Ajá.
Pues sigue.
Había una política muy ominosa en México en donde si te pasaba algo era porque estabas metido en algo. porque eras parte de algo.
There was this ominous politics in Mexico that if something happened to you, if you got shot, it was because you were involved. That was the idea that people had about the drug world.
Y realmente la gente no denunciaba por miedo o por vergüenza. La gente no denunciaba por miedo o por vergüenza.
Pero cuenta un poquito más así, ¿por qué piensas que tenía
No, porque la gente no contaba por miedo o por vergüenza. Y María Rivera recogió en un poema documental. O sea, hizo un poema documental, lo recogió de los periódicos, de las redes sociales, recogió esto en Los Muertos. Los Muertos se llama su poema. Y lo puso ahí.
There was this feeling of fear and embarrassment of people not wanting to make, go to the police or something and make. I forgot the word. When you denuncias. When you go to the police to make like a. Huh? Yeah, people wouldn't report to the police because of fear and embarrassment. And then Maria Rivera make this poem collecting from journals, from posts that people shared called The Dead.
And the Sun Quartet is like a poem, it's a film. So it's a film that está hecho en 4 partes y cada parte hace referencia a un elemento natural. La primera parte es la tierra y quizá es como el más importante porque se llama Sunstone y es un monolito, la piedra del sol es un monolito. Para los aztecas era un calendario y una piedra sacrificial.
So this film has 4 parts. Each part is dedicated to an element. The first one is the earth, which considers is the most important, and it's this monolith stone that in the Aztec Hispanic culture it was a stone related to the sun, to the calendar, Aztec calendar, and it was also a sacrifice stone.
Y ellos piensan la temporalidad como ellos inscriben en la piedra la cosmovisión de sus pueblos. Y nosotros pensábamos que podíamos escribir en el celuloide la temporalidad de lo que estaba sucediendo. Por eso son 7 exposiciones, como escribir en el celuloide lo que estaba sucediendo en México.
In the stone, people would write as a cosmovision of the world around them.
In the stone.
In the stone, yes. They would write in the stone. And they wrote in the film their...
Like 7 times. 7 times. Exposition.
Like your interpretation of what was happening around you at that moment.
Porque los aztecas escriben en la piedra su cosmovisión.
Sí.
No, but
okay, because the Aztecs would write in the stone their cosmovision of the world.
Y pensábamos que podíamos hacer eso en el celuloide.
And we thought we could do that also in the celluloid as well.
So the superimpositions. Hi. The superimpositions are all done in the photography. It's all done in the camera.
Yeah. Todo ese everything is doing in camera. Bolix camera. The montage is in camera, but because we were thinking that we should do this in the Bolix cámara. Como 7 exposiciones. Ya no tengo hipo.
Ya se me pasó, ya viste. No more hiccups.
No more hiccups.
No, I covered that.
I'm also curious because in Mexico City, there's a lot of stuff going on with film, experimental film, but you're in Tehuacan.
Yeah.
And what is the cinema and art culture like? And especially making all of this work, what is the context in Tehuacan for your work?
No, no creo que haya como... No hay como una cultura cinematográfica. Hay en el Ciudad de México. Pero creo que era importante registrar este momento desde el lugar en el que estamos, que es indígena, campo, y eso se ve reflejado en el cuarteto.
There's not a filmic culture community where she comes from, but in Mexico City, yes, there is. But she thought it was important to have that portrait, from that perspective of an indigenous place and from the rural space. And
Sí, porque nosotros nos consideramos indígenas de la Mixteca poblana.
because we consider ourselves indigenous from the Mixtec culture. From Puebla.
Y para estudiar cine tienes que ir a la Ciudad de México. Y fuimos a la Ciudad de México cuando estaba el contexto de los estudiantes desaparecidos en México.
And in order to make film, you have to go to Mexico City. And when we were there, that's when this context, social chaos happened, when there was the disappearance of the 43 students, Ayotzinapa students.
Y pensamos que era muy importante integrar, o sea, pensar qué es hacer cine en un contexto de guerra contra el narcotráfico y de desaparecidos. La segunda parte, Río San Juan, asume su propia desaparición. La película va desapareciendo.
And we thought it was important when we were there to portray this from this perspective of the experience of making film in a moment of this war against drugs and the disappearance of people. And in the second film,
Río San Juan,
San Juan River, it actually starts disappearing, the images starts disappearing.
Sí, es el río, pero es Tenochtitlán era un lago y se conectaba con ríos. Cuando llegan los españoles, ellos tienen ellos destruyen, es el primer ecocidio en México. Ecocidio, destruye, o sea, secan un río para tomar una ciudad, Tenochtitlán. Secan, o sea, los españoles secan un río para tomar Tenochtitlán.
And you see a river, and what she's saying is that Tenochtitlan, it was a lake before which had a lot of rivers connected, and then when the Spanish arrived, that's what she's saying, it's the first ecocide, right, like the diminishing of this place. When the Spanish arrived, they completely destroyed this river. And
y Río San Juan you see the people, la gente, the people go, is like the river in these places, in the streets, because before these streets were a river, before the Spanish and the colonialists, but the people just see, and they are like a river in the streets, like manifestation, like it's something like that. Y en la segunda es conflagración, the fire. Es un sonido a weapon. The sound of the government is a weapon. It's a conflagration. Y los que están cantando son estudiantes de la UNAM.
And the people singing, like, and the people singing are the students of the UNAM, the university there.
And this is the first one is the earth, second is the water, the river, third is the fire, the conflagration, una inmersión, the immersion in the, and the fourth is the air, the spirit, the poet, David Huerta, write this poem, Ayotzinapa, en noviembre 2 de noviembre, but put it in the relation with far from Vietnam. Here was a big thing, far from Vietnam, far from Ayotzinapa, far of these places that are in war, in pain. We want to be there, but we can be there. It's far away. But this is the air, the spirit, and la gente que estaba en solidaridad con los estudiantes.
And the people who were in solidarity with the students.
Pero puedes leer la diferencia de las voces, su textura.
And you can read the different voices, the different languages, and the different textures of each language.
Is it a quite dangerous thing for these protests, for the people involved? And related to that, are your films shown very much in Mexico? And is there also a danger in radical political films being shown in certain areas or about certain topics?
Sí, ha sido peligroso. México era el segundo país más peligroso en términos de periodismo, después de Siria, un país en guerra.
Yes, Mexico, it is a dangerous place. It was denominated the second most dangerous country for journalism after Syria, which is a country under war.
Pero desde el inicio trabajamos con experimental y anónimo, un trabajo anónimo.
But since the beginning, we work with experimental nature film and very in an anonymous way.
Creo que han cambiado las cosas en México. También tenemos otro gobierno que abrió muchos de los de lo que estaba pasando en Ayotzinapa.
Pero ¿abrió en qué sentido?
No, digo, muchos de lo que está pasando, o sea, entregó lo que tenían los militares, los entregó a los argentinos. O sea, entregó todo el trabajo. The government right now give to the Argentinians, because the Argentinians they have a long history of dictatorships, and and from Chile and Guatemala, and they came to Mexico to look like this was very autonomous. And López Obrador give many of the things that from the military, from the army.
Mhm.
And was bad because the army was very involved. We know that the army and the police and Peña Nieto and everybody was involved. We know that. Remember, for example, when I filmed this, I was with the car. They call like the thing, el carro. I was with the car with Julio César Mondragon. Julio César Mondragon was a student. He died, but we know now that was the military. They take the face out, and I remember I was with the car when I entered to the big square in Mexico. It's the biggest square. It's one of the biggest square in Mexico. And I was in, and someone in with the microphone, because everybody was saying consignas. How do you say? Like there's this is don't exist in
Consignas.
like they say things like what you hear in the film, like
Yeah, like
vivos los que vivos se los llevaron vivos.
slogans, yeah.
Eslogans. Vivos se los llevaron, vivos los queremos. The whole square was like that, like was huge. But I was in that time with the Julio César Mondragon, that he was died because they take the face, and they say in the stage, el escenario, in the stage, they say, it's coming Julio César Mondragon car, something like that. And I was with it, and was a silence that I will never forget, and it's going to be with me my whole life, because the square was like with this word that you heard, but when they say Julio César Mondragon car is coming, the silence was so strong, and it's going to be with me my whole life. Was very strong to go, because they do something that they did, the military, the army, and corrígeme si the army, they do this, take the face in the 70s, with the people that were just communists and all that stuff. But also in the colonialists, they try to erase the face of the deities. Tonatiuh in the sunstone is like an eraser. They take the face away. They erase the face. So it was a meaning to take the face of a student, and I was with this student in the car when I entered to the square, the biggest square, and for me it was like this is give me to was so strong. The silence of the people when we went, in that place was amazing, amazing. I understand the movement, I understand what happened when 17th in the war, and I understand what happens in the colonialism. I don't understand anything, but I feel like I understand in that moment.
I don't know if anyone has any questions. Although I can't see very well. Yeah.
Muchas gracias por este proyecto. Yo soy de Guerrero y de verdad es un placer tenerla a usted aquí. Quería preguntar en el final, ¿son 7 personas que leen el último poema? Porque ese número 7 sigue recurriendo desde el principio. ¿Fueron 7 en el final?
En el último poema, lo lee David Huerta. The last poem is written by David Huerta, that he wrote the poem.
Pero son 7, ¿no?
Sí, son 7.
Just he just asked. Well, he's from Guerrero, Mexico, and he asked if there was 7 people reading the last poem because he thought that's a recurrent number that he saw, and she agreed and said that just like the last person is David Huerta.
Is David Huerta that he wrote the poem in November 2. That is es un acontecimiento en México. Noviembre 2. Son todos los santos, the Day of the Dead in Mexico. And David Huerta wrote this poem that day. And many people from outside, this is what you listen, they translate, they are poet. That's why they it's very strong, they reading, because they are poets. They translate and they read. That's why because the poet always is going to be very strong. They are poets, but you listen. All of them, yeah. So that's why it's very strong and it's very different in the in the rhythms and in the time. They are different in the time, in the rhythm. The Romanian is very. The Romanian, yeah. There was Romanian, someone, and they say, "Oh, this is Romanian. I can't believe this is Romanian," and it's different in all of them.
Anybody else have a question? Well, I want to thank you so much for coming, and I want to thank Chica also for helping with translation. But I hope you consider coming tomorrow night to 2220 Arts and Archives for a completely different show, including the very new film you made with the FIlmforum Commission. And yeah, I also want to thank Whammy again for hosting us and for you all, or to you all for coming. So yeah, thank you so much.